Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined today by columnist Joe Mussatto. Joe, thank you very much for joining once again here in almost Thanksgiving time, Joe.
It's a great time. It's a great time of year. Happy to be here, Scott.
I appreciate it. We will get into a few things, talk maybe a little bit about the coaching search, which I think is going to be winding down very soon. Maybe talk a little bit about the Ring of Honor. We had a new inductee into the Ring of Honor over the weekend. Talk about Kansas State game and look ahead to UCF as well. But do want to remind everybody, if you want to win a beer from Stone Cloud that I can drink on next week's show, jump in the comments on YouTube, put your score prediction in there for the OSU UCF game, and you have a chance to win a beer. I'm obviously not at Stone Cloud today, and we're recording this a little bit early for me to break out the beer that I've stocked up over all my podcasts there at the Stone Cloud in Stillwater. But Tom was the winner last week. My buddy Justin was going for 3 in a row, and he gave it a good run. But Tom got a little bit closer thanks to a little bit less confidence in Kansas State's offense, scoring some points, which made for a very interesting game there Saturday, Joe.
Yeah, it was, really a standout day for the Oklahoma State defense. I wrote about Parker Robertson after the game and just his impact and really cool story. Guy that, started as a walk-on and now is kind of one of the centerpieces of this depleted Oklahoma State defense, but one that's still fighting late in the season, which I think you got to give a ton of credit to Clinton Bowen just for how he's kept these guys engaged, because there's nothing to play for yet. They still competed on Saturday. It was just those turnovers. I thought the offense did some good things. I thought Flores did some good things, but the turnovers just crushed them, Scott.
Yeah, they did, and that was difficult to watch. They had 3 in a row when they had gotten inside the 30 there in the second half. You had the one early that when they were kind of building some momentum. So just bad timing on those. Combination of protection issues. Maybe Zane needs to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, but it was tough with what he had coming at him. So definitely something they've got to clean up this week because UCF has some guys that can get to the quarterback. So that's it's going to be important. But we'll get to this game a little bit later. I mentioned the Ring of Honor. We got to see Justin Blackman go in. Obviously, not a big fan of talking to us in the media, which is totally fine. But still, one of the maybe the greatest college football receiver of all time.
Yeah, and that's not hyperbole. Of course, he was going to be the next guy to get in, rightfully so. I think there has been so many off the field issues that sometimes it clouds how you sort of remember his career. But just college superstar, and even looking back at some of the NFL numbers before he got in trouble and got suspended, he was off to a great start in Jacksonville, and just an unfortunate what if as far as what he could have became in the NFL. But it was cool to see him back in Stillwater, being honored. Sort of stays out of the spotlight. Didn't want to make too much of it, but you could tell how much it meant to him, and see some of his family out there, and obviously a warm embrace as he's back in Stillwater. And everyone wants to see Justin Blackman sort of do well.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see the best for him going forward. Obviously, just a guy that is beloved by Oklahoma State people for what he did. So now I've written a story that will be in Sunday's paper talking about who would be next in the Ring of Honor. I don't want to give away all the juicy details, but I want to focus on one name in particular because I'm curious if you were making the decisions, Joe, for the Ring of Honor. How soon is it no longer too soon to put Mike Gundy in the Ring of Honor? Because let's be honest, he's going in at some point, no matter what. I don't think there's any way around that. But
Yeah,
how soon is too soon, or how soon is no longer too soon?
I think it's a question for Mike Gundy, and a question for where Gundy and the OSU administration is out on their relationship. Obviously, OSU is would probably be ready to welcome him back as soon as possible. But if you're Gundy, I could understand not trepidation, but you just maybe want, time heals all wounds. Obviously, he's still beloved and still loves the university, and makes sense as the next guy to go in. I just think the timing issue is kind of make sure everything's okay relationship wise, and have it at a point where everyone can celebrate Mike Gundy.
I agree. I'll be very curious to see how things are handled in the final home game of the season. If they choose to do anything to have a little salute to him there, if they do, if he would show up or stay away like he's done this season. But I don't know. I don't know if you were paying attention on social media. What was that Tuesday night? He has made a public appearance on social media with his video hyping up the Bedlam hockey game that is coming up. So um, maybe he's getting close to being ready uh, to return to the public spotlight in some form. I don't know. Did you catch that video, Joe?
I did. I thought he looked a little rusty. He's not quite as sharp as he was being out of the game for a couple months now. But that was nice to see. Shout out to OSU hockey for making that happen. And we were wondering where was Gundy going to pop up next. Is it going to be ESPN? Is it going to be Fox? Where's Mike Gundy gonna be? And turns out it was a social media video to OSU hockey. No one had that.
No, no, I don't think so. He sounds like a huge hockey fan though. He loves him some hockey. So,
Is that
all right.
real or are you being facetious?
That no, that was literally I was just quoting him. That's all I was doing. Just quoting that he loves him some hockey. Uh, well, let's move on now to who might be his permanent replacement at Oklahoma State. This feels like it's winding down. If given the opportunity, I think Oklahoma State will name their next head football coach on November 30th, the day after the regular season ends. Don't know for sure if that is possible. I'm kind of in the weeds of it all, trying to keep up with everything that's going on, Joe. So I'm a little bit curious. What has been kind of your vibe from a little more disconnected than where I'm at down here in the bunker, trying to figure this all out. What has been kind of your view of how this search is progressing?
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear you on this more than whatever I have to say because I don't know what's going on, and you do, but just from the outside looking in, um, I think my favorite at this point is Eric Morris at North Texas. Uh, I think there's a lot of things going for his candidacy. He played in the Big 12 at Texas Tech. He's at North Texas now. Obviously, has regional ties to an area that's obviously going to be important to recruit. He has a quarterback who I think could come with him in Messmaker. He's got Caleb Hawkins from North Rock Creek in Shawnee, who's I looked on not only is he just setting records, he had 5 touchdowns the other day, but he's number 2 on PFF as far as running back grades behind Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. So it's not just numbers he's putting up. People, who are scouting him are loving him too. So and then they've got a couple of good receivers. And I'm sorry, North Texas fans, I don't want to poach your whole team away, but that's kind of how it would happen if Morris would end up getting the job. So he's number 1 on my list. I'm fascinated by the goalish stuff. You know more about that than I do, but what would you make of kind of his comments yesterday? I guess when we're recording this, that would have been Tuesday, saying he hasn't, you know, interviewed. I don't know what the exact language you used.
Yeah, said he hasn't talked to anybody. And I mean, that might be true. It's possible
Yeah.
that this has all been done through back channels. I do think there's communication between the two sides for sure at this point. Maybe it's Turnkey's ERG and Golish's agent. I would think by this point, knowing the timeline that Chad Weiberg is ideally working with, I would think that they are farther down the road than that.
Hmm.
But uh, I can totally understand Golish being a little bit protective because they did just lose a game when they were basically in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. They go and lose to Navy, and there's speculation that his attention is being pulled elsewhere. So I can understand him being a little bit guarded, on all of that stuff, and choosing the route that he chose in terms of answering that question. So we'll see. I've been kind of more leaning toward Morris until this last few days, and it feels like Golish might be picking up a little bit of momentum, and I think timing is part of that. Now, uh, the Bulls are now in a really tough spot to make it to the American Championship game, which means that Golish would be available on November 30th, as opposed to Morris, who could have a chance at playing in the championship game and even making the playoffs still at this point. Even though what Tulane was the one that got in via the
Hmm.
rankings based on rankings last night, but um, I certainly think that's going to be a factor in all of this. And I'm trying to decide, and I want to get your take on this as well. Is how important is the timing element of all of this? I realize why you want to have it done quickly because there's going to be more jobs coming open, and there's going to be dominoes that start to fall. Um, but do you have to rush it? Or if, let's say, Eric Morris is your guy and he ends up going to the championship game, are you okay to wait and see what happens as far as a championship game and potential playoff, or do you need to just go get the guy that's available?
I understand the immediacy in which this needs to get done, but I would not rush because if say Morris is your guy or say Golish is your guy or who candidate X, I don't know, and you're set on them through back channels, you feel good about it happening. Um, I think you've got to wait on a conference championship game, on even a playoff appearance, because this is such a long-term decision. This is the biggest decision that Chad Weiberg is going to make as AD. So I don't think you can take a short-term approach to okay, we got to move now, even though this might be our guy. I think you have to be fully committed and go with that. And there's risk. More jobs could open up. Someone could get cold feet. Someone could come in with a bigger offer. So there is risk in that, and maybe if you wait on number one, maybe you miss number two, and now you're down to number three on your list. Like there is risk of that happening, but um, I, whoever my guy is, if I'm Chad Weiberg, I am waiting on that and presenting the best possible package together before I move on.
But I want to talk a little bit more about the timing, but I do want to throw out some other names because I do think that this OSU certainly hasn't just zeroed in on these two guys. I think there are other guys. Now, things seem to be cooling off with Colin Klein. I don't know if that's from his side or the OSU side, but it certainly seems there is that situation. We've seen a report recently that Alabama defensive coordinator Kane Womack is potentially in the mix. You had him number one on your defensive coordinators list back a few weeks ago. Certainly an intriguing guy based on being at Alabama right now and having success there, but also having done what he did at South Alabama already as a head coach. If he'd stayed there, probably would have been, a head coach at an Oklahoma State type of place by now. I know it's been a while since you researched him, but what did you like about him?
Yeah, and he was kind of number one by default. There weren't a ton
Right.
of defensive coordinators. Um, this coaching market in general is kind of light on like the hotshot coordinators that could make the jump. I mean, obviously Klein is one of them. Stein at Oregon. Um, maybe the defensive coordinator at Georgia or Miami. But with Womack, I mean, did a really good job at South Alabama. A little too good for OSU's taste when he came through Stillwater a couple of years ago, and just made kind of a weird, not weird, but non-traditional decision to leave a head coaching job and to take a coordinator job. And if he was to get a job like OSU or another Power Four job, I think that path would have made sense. Like, it might, if you're at South Alabama, maybe you have to go somewhere else in between to then get another Power Four job. Whereas if you're a defensive coordinator at Bama, then maybe you make that leap. So I don't know. And he's probably getting paid just as much or more as a DC at Bama. So he's intriguing because it's like the best of both worlds. He's been at Bama now, been around that type of athlete, and he has head coaching experience as well. So that's what I like about Womack. I certainly would put him behind the other two guys that we have mentioned. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on him and any other names that you think are kind of in the search right now.
Yeah, one that just sort of randomly pops up from time to time is Bob Chesney at JMU. Interesting guy because he's basically started at the very, very bottom of NCAA football, Division III, and just built a program and moved up a level, built a program and moved up a level, all the way to Division II, FCS, and now FBS. There, so he's an intriguing guy. I feel like he's probably a little bit more. He and Womack are uh, certainly lower than the top two guys that we've been talking about, Morris and Golish. But he's a name that has not gotten a lot of buzz, but is, I think, certainly somebody that Oklahoma State is well aware of. So curious to see how things go for him. I think he'll probably be, you know talked about it in a lot of for a lot of jobs. JMU, he took over right behind Kurt Signetti. Of course, Signetti took a lot of dudes with him to Indiana, and
Hmm.
that's part of his success path there. So there was still some building that had to be done to keep that program rolling. So really impressive job that he has done building up another program. We'll see where he goes from here. 48 years old, so he's a guy that is still what I would consider young as a current 47-year-old myself. So yeah, I think he's a guy. If I was going to name a dark horse, he might be the guy that I would look at.
I like Chesney a lot. And he's even being mentioned for that like Penn State opening. And
Yeah,
um, you know, listen, if it's Chesney, I've done such a terrible job because I went over 50 names and Bob Chesney was not among my 50. The one I thought about putting him on was current group of five head coaches. There's just some I liked a little more that made more sense regionally. Um, and since then, his name's only picked up steam. So it's not like I don't want Bob Chesney to get the job, but it would be a rough look. No one would know, no one would remember or care, but I would always know that, man, you had 50 chances and you struck out.
uh, yeah. He's 51. That's nothing. Actually, I think
Yeah,
I
50.
forgot. I think
I
I might
should
be 51, and then he could be 52. But
I should put out an honorable mention, 10 names, just cover all my bases.
yeah,
Scott
exactly,
Wright, Bob Chesney.
exactly. Um, one thing I wanted to touch on the timing because I derailed that conversation. One thing that from the beginning that I've been overly focused on is the high school signing period, which begins December 3rd. Um, for weeks, I was like, oh, they got to get somebody before that. They got to get somebody before that. They got to have a coach on signing day so they can bring in these high school guys. And then it kind of set in that high school signing day doesn't really matter that much.
Hmm.
For one, the current there's no letter of intent anymore. There's no binding agreement that is signed. It's financial aid paperwork and it's a big data to have your party at your high school, but it's nothing binding that happens. So if you sign a guy on December 3rd, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. If you don't sign a guy on December 3rd, it doesn't mean anything. There's going to be other coaching moves that happen after signing day that are going to put a lot of things in motion. There's going to be kids that back out of signings. There's going to be things that happen in the portal. Now, the portal I think is hugely important, but that's January. But I think you definitely want to have not only a coach but a good chunk of your staff in place before the portal opens, because that's going to be where you build your team. And I think you need some time to evaluate your the roster you're taking over before you get to that point. So I definitely I'm not downplaying the importance of getting this done quickly, but I've backed off on the need to imperatively have somebody in by signing day.
Yeah.
Obviously, the recruiting staff is having some success. They've brought in four guys, two recommitments and two new commitments in the aftermath of Gundy's firing. They haven't made up for what they lost, but they've still got a pretty good class together and have maintained some relationships with guys that were committed and or are not committed anywhere. So I think they've done what is necessary, and in the way the portal works now, especially in a coaching change like this, you don't have to go sign 25 high school guys. If you get to 15 in a class, that's probably going to be a good number for you to build around, and you're going to be filling your gaps with portal guys in January. I think more. I think that's far more important than worrying about what you've got on December 3rd to sign guys.
Yeah, I think that would have obviously been a bigger issue in the old days where high school recruiting was sort of paramount, and now it's not because of the portal. Other timing issues I wanted to ask you about, I guess, would be like if Golish is in the mix at a Florida or an Auburn, if Morris is in the mix at Arkansas, or one of those other SEC jobs. Um, do you sense that there is like competition for those two names in particular?
I certainly think there is. Morris is a guy that I think is maybe not quite as high on some other lists as he might be at Oklahoma State. Golish, I feel like is could be like a 1B on the list of a couple of those SEC jobs, and obviously, Lane Kiffin being the guy that's been being talked about so much. He
Yeah.
maybe he wants to wait and see what happens there, or maybe if you're goalish, maybe you've got to wait. But um, it's going to be a tricky situation for the coach as well in those situations, because if you've got a job, a contract in front of you ready to sign, and you pass on that, and then things don't go out the way that you want, maybe it's not an ideal situation. You don't know what happens when if you end up going back to staying with your program, and now everybody knows that you're looking to get out, which they know already, really. So that's probably not a big deal. But um, you know, uh, what happens if you have a bad year next year, and then all of a sudden your value is not what it was on the coaching market. So lots of tricky situations all around for both sides on this, and I think that's why there's a good chance that Oklahoma State probably makes something happen early, because I think there'll be somebody that wants to take the opportunity to come to Oklahoma State and build a program. So
Yeah. And I feel like I've been arguing about this with people, but this is a really good job. I know those SEC jobs are good, but one, your path is all but impossible in some places. Now, the big picture thing, if the SEC and the Big Ten were to break off, 5 years from now, yeah, you'd want one of those jobs, even if it's a lower tier SEC job. But as things stand, um, you look at the Big 12. I mean, it's gettable right now, and you can recover just like that. I mean, look at what Arizona State did. Look what Houston's done in year two under Willie Fritz. I think like this is a really good job, and one in which you could have a viable shot at the playoff every year. I know it's your podcast, Scott, but I have one more question.
yeah,
Uh, is Zach Robinson still a candidate?
I would say slightly above 0% chance that he's
It's a
a
pretty low
candidate.
number.
Yeah, yes, a very low number. I think that he's a guy that maybe you stay in contact with. Um, Maybe he's more of a safety net
Hmm.
type of guy in this in this situation. And it's not, everybody's been kind of ragging on him about the season that Atlanta has had this year on offense and those sorts of things. I don't think it was on the field issues that have led to this. I don't think he was as significant a candidate in the beginning as some people will try to make you believe. And I don't think that um, I don't think that Chad Weiberg really was very far down the road of trying to make that happen at any point. So I think that's kind of where it stands. I don't know that he's completely out because
Hmm.
you don't know what's going to happen, but I I don't think that he's in. I wouldn't put him in the top tier at this point. So,
Yeah.
all right, Joe. Anything else before we move on to our Stone Cloud six pack?
I don't think so. There's a lot of good coaches out there, though, and
Yeah,
I'd
there
feel
are.
good if I was OSU right now.
Yeah, a lot was made about when they decided to fire Gundy. I think it was absolutely the right call. Maybe it could have been handled different by either side. I don't know, but I think it was absolutely the right call to do. And it's painful. It's painful to look at this as the reality of college football that you have to do something like that. But that's where you are in this game right now. You've got to pull the trigger when you did. If you're, um, you know if you were still sitting here right now on we're recording this on November 19th and you haven't made a decision or haven't announced a decision regarding Mike Gundy, if he was still the coach right now, you're behind in the game in trying to get some of these guys that you're going to have a shot at now. So as painful as it is to have to deal with September firings in college football, it's the reality and it is what it is. So
Yeah, I'm with you there.
all right, let's move on to the Stone Cloud six pack. Even without Stone Cloud, we still have the six pack. So we'll start. We haven't talked at all about this week's game, which might be the most winnable game Oklahoma State has played in several weeks. Um, my first question, though, is it's a 14-point spread. Will UCF cover the spread this week, Joe? 14 points on the board.
They will not.
I
Scott,
like it.
the Cowboys are going to keep it close. And I've predicted a lot of blowouts because there's been a lot of blowouts. But the defense has played better, and I think that it's not like UCF has much to play for either. And I think you wrote about Doug Meacham the other night, but you can see how bad he wants it and how bad his players probably want it for themselves and for him. I just think Meacham's done a fantastic job given the circumstances. It has nothing to do with like on field results, but just keeping spirits high in an otherwise bad time. Um, but yeah, I think the Cowboys keep it within two touchdowns.
I'm with you right there, and the biggest reason that I feel that way, because we've seen what can happen when OSU goes to the bounce house. It got really ugly 2 years ago, but the biggest reason I feel that way is looking at what Clint Bowen has done with this defense. Doug Meacham mentioned they're giving up 323 yards a game over the last three games. Um, he's had three straight under 400 yards allowed. They gave up 284, I think it was, to Kansas State, which Oklahoma State has only been lower than that in terms of yardage allowed one time since Jim Knowles' last game as defensive coordinator, and that was Arizona State in 20. Was that 22 or 23 that you went out there with me? Now we went out to Tempe. I can't remember now when exactly that was.
2022, I think.
I think it was. Yeah. Yes, that sounds right because then they came into the Big 12 because it was a non-conference game when we went out
Yeah.
there, and then it was a conference game the following year when they joined. No, they joined last year. I don't know. Anyway, I'm lost. I don't have it in front of me. But anyway, that game was the only one where they allowed less than 284 yards in the entire era since Jim Knowles has been gone. So that was a whole lot of words to say. I would take OSU in the points this week. All right.
I'll take the blame on that. My dog distracted both of us. I think a very loud bark. Sorry about that, everyone. I hope it's probably just the mailman.
All right, number two in the Stone Cloud six pack. Over or under 2.5 turnovers for OSU this week? We talked about the 5 crucial ones that they had last week. Um, what do you see happening? Is this going to be a continuing problem for the Cowboys?
I don't think so because for as bad as the offense has been, they haven't had like brutal turnover problems
Right.
until last week. Um, and this coincides with the first question. If I'm picking OSU to keep it close, I got to pick them to keep the turnovers down as well. So I'm taking the under here.
I'm going under as well. I think that you're going to see them try to keep the ball on the ground a lot this week, and pound the run game to try to shorten the game, run the clock, and hopefully be able to finish some of those drives from their perspective. So, yeah, I think this could be a big game for Rodney Fields and maybe Trent Hallen as well, who ran hard in his few opportunities that he had against Kansas State and continues to play well when he gets the chance. So, I might have just teased our next question there, but number 3 in the Stone Cold Six Pack, if OSU is going to win, what player is the biggest key to that victory?
I might be sniping your guy right here because you just mentioned him. But it's a brutal game we play, Scott. So I'm going to say Rodney Fields Jr. Uh, it that UCF doesn't have a great run defense. Fields has really come on, and it's not just what he does in the run game, but he's kind of a safety valve in the passing game as well. I think he's second on the team in receptions, fourth in receiving yards. So just kind of a do-it-all utility piece in this OSU offense. But I'm with you. I think they're going to try to run the ball, and he's going to be at the head of that.
Yeah, I tipped my hand a little too early there. So you absolutely did steal my pick, and that's perfectly fair. It's not against the rules. You can do that. So I'm going to go to the other side of the ball, and I'm going to go with Brandon Rawls at linebacker. Considered Parker Robertson, I think will be important as well. But in particular, I think stopping the run is going to be really important. UCF has 2 pretty solid running backs. One who Oklahoma State fans are very familiar with in Jaden Nixon, averaging 8.5 yards a carry for the season. Um, Really pretty crazy numbers that he has put up and just hasn't had a ton of opportunities or in terms of like being the main guy. Miles Montgomery has more yardage for the season. So those 2 guys with their abilities are going to be important to what UCF wants to do on offense, and slowing them down, I think, is going to be a huge key for the Oklahoma State defense. So I'm going to go with a linebacker here in Brandon Rawls, who has been a really solid player in the middle. He's not a guy that's super flashy, not the Nick Martin type of linebacker, but fills holes and makes stops and doesn't miss a lot when he gets the opportunities. So I'm going to go with Rawls as the key on the defensive side, but I really do like your pick over there with Fields on offense. So
Sorry to do that to you.
no, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. That's why I let the guest go first.
Yeah, you defer.
I'm a friendly guy. I absolutely always defer. Take the ball in the second half, and I'll do the same here with the draft as always. First pick will go to you. This week's topic: holiday traditions. We're getting into the holiday season, and just because it doesn't have to be a Thanksgiving Christmas type tradition. Those are on the board, obviously, but it doesn't have to be that. You can go with any holiday at all, family specific thing, or just a generic thing that you enjoy doing around a holiday. But with that, the first pick is to you, Joe.
Well, it's obviously timely with Thanksgiving coming up. It's my favorite holiday. Uh, and I'm just going with the classic, the Thanksgiving dinner, with family. I've been in charge of our family's turkey the last few years, so a lot of responsibility. Scott, I'd say started pretty low, but I've been gradually getting better. Refining my recipe that I found online, and yeah, you can't beat all the sides and just everything to do with Thanksgiving. So I'm taking the Thanksgiving feast.
I like it. That is a huge responsibility, being responsible for the
Yeah.
turkey. I usually get asked to bring napkins. If that gives you any
Okay.
hint to what kind of a cook I am, they
You've got to have napkins.
Gotta have napkins. So, and fortunately, the McDonald's down from my house, they've got just a big stack sitting out. You just go in, order something, take as many as you want. They don't even know. It's great. So can't beat
Resourceful.
it. That's right. All right, my first pick. I'm going with my pick is impacted by Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, my family doesn't do this anymore. After my grandma passed away, this one kind of died away for the most part, which was really sad in multiple ways because obviously my grandma died. But um, so late in life, she loved Thanksgiving dinner,
Mhm.
but she had always before that had always done a very similar thing with turkey and all of that on Christmas as well. And she kind of liked it just being for Thanksgiving, just being a big special thing on Thanksgiving dinner. And so for a Christmas dinner, she changed it to a Mexican food theme the last handful of years of her life, and it became my favorite thing. It was
That's awesome.
it was just completely fun and different, and we got to have lots of different types of foods there, and Christmas was always a little bit more relaxed because everybody's wanting to get done with stuff so the kids can open presents and all of those kind of things. So a little bit less work than dealing with the turkey, as you have learned, and so it became a really fun thing. And every now and then, my family will still bring it back, but we kind of bounce around with our meal choices from year to year around the holidays. So
I
that
love that.
it became a really fun tradition.
That's a good
All right.
one. I'm going with a another family tradition. I have no idea if any other family had this tradition. This is very uniquely Oklahoma Cityan, but uh, Black Friday, we used to day after Thanksgiving, we used to always go to Remington Park to watch the
Really?
horse races, and they
Ah,
used to have like pretty early post times, the Friday after Thanksgiving. I actually just looked. I haven't been there in a while, but before we got on, and I don't think the races start till 6 p.m. But I know that they used to be earlier in the day. I was trying to find old programs and stuff, making sure I'm not having a false memory here. But we would always go there. I remember like me and my cousins, like we would sit out by the paddock, watch the horses walk through before they go to the track and everything. So it's I don't think it had anything to do with Thanksgiving other than it was the day after, but I always thought of that as a holiday tradition.
that is pretty fun and very
Yeah.
original, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure there were other people that were out there with you, but some of them might have been out there just because they're degenerate gamblers. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
still some tradition
a,
involved,
a
and that's really
nice
cool.
a nice family outing around degenerate gamblers.
Exactly. Exactly. It reminds me of a tradition that was not mine, so this is not my pick. But when I was a kid, I had a friend whose family, um, after Christmas lunch, so Christmas Day in the evening, they would always go to a movie. That was
Hmm.
their big thing, and I thought that was really cool until I got into high school and started working at a movie theater and had to work on Christmas Day, and then I didn't like that
Oh.
tradition so much. But other than that,
Uh,
still neat. I've never heard of the Remington Park trip, but that's really fun. And not being in a store on Black Friday, also a good decision.
yeah, maybe that was part of it.
For my next pick, I'm going to go with a fairly new tradition, and one that was already tested earlier this year because I had to make a decision about committing to it. But since my son Taden has gotten old enough to that he doesn't go trick or treating on Halloween anymore, we've started doing kind of making our house one of the scary ones in the neighborhood. We get uh, fog machine and
Hmm.
strobe light and do some things like that. We got added some scary music this year, but it was a difficult decision this year because uh, Oklahoma State played at Kansas on November 1st. Had it been an 11 a.m. game, I don't know that I would have been able to make it, and it would have made me really sad. But because it was an afternoon game there in Lawrence, I was able to hang out for all of Halloween, and then about 9:30 we packed up, and I drove up to Wichita actually on Friday night, and was on my way to Lawrence in plenty of time on Saturday morning. So got to stick with the new tradition that we have begun here, and had a blast. We have so much fun. Just seeing the kids, and Tatum dresses in this
Mhm.
all black outfit with these. It's got these red glasses that he wears that have lights in them, so they like fade in and out. It's been really cool. It's been a lot of fun, and a lot of people in the neighborhood stop by. So having a blast with that one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We got one more, right?
Round three to you, Joe.
Round three. Mine is very similar. It involves decorating. I was just at my sister and brother-in-law's house the other day. I always help them put on their Christmas lights. Brother-in-law repays the favor, and got on got on my roof and put up the lights. I know it's a little early, but still, it looks nice. And I love Christmas lights. We used to go to Chickasha all the time growing up, every year, seeing the lights out there. I've been to the one in Yukon. And even like around here, we live in the village. So we'll take our dog, who made an appearance earlier, on a walk. We'll go see the rich people in Nichols Hills who have to spend thousands of dollars on their lights, because it's like, it's so funny to me. Like the streets of Nichols Hills are just like filled during the holidays, just people driving through, looking at the lights, and that's us. Uh, we get a good kick out of it.
That's good stuff. I do, as a Yukon person, highly recommend anybody coming out and checking out our city parks that have all the lights going. I recommend like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night trip. You don't want to mess around with it on the weekends. It's
Yeah,
You're going to be sitting in your car for a long time, and you don't have to. I realize weekends are a whole lot easier for people to get out, but if you don't want to be just sitting in your car with the only lights you're staring at is the red brake lights in front of you, it's definitely worth it to come on like a Tuesday night. And I don't know if they've opened it yet, but it's getting very close. I
yeah,
drove past the park the other day, and they've got lots of the decorations already up and ready to go. There's a lot
very
of them,
nice.
a lot of the like lights in the trees and things they never even take down. They just leave them up all year,
Hmm.
just to make it easier to
Yeah,
not mess with it. But all the big decorations and things like that are going up, and they're going to be ready very soon for folks to come and check it out. So um, my other one was very similar to that. It was decorating the Christmas tree after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna leave that one there. I'm gonna go away from this era of the holiday season, and
hmm.
I'm gonna go with another thing that is unique to my area here, actually, in the city of my rival Mustang. Um, 4th of July in Mustang is insane. It is pure insanity. Fireworks are legal out here. They're illegal in Yukon, so and lots of other areas around here. Mustang, totally legal. The entire week leading up to the 4th of July, you can go anywhere in Mustang, but especially the city park, Wild Horse Park, there in the middle of town, and they've got lots of room for hundreds of cars to just park and shoot off fireworks. The word that most
Wow.
most frequently gets associated with it is a war zone. That's what it feels like if you get out into the middle of it, and you've got sounds and explosions and lights all around you. That's exactly what it feels like. I like to go out to the middle and right in the heart of one of the big nights, and just start my video and just do a 360 all the way around to show people exactly what it's like. Um, we
I
we
did
love.
not know that. That sounds like chaos, but
Oh,
it
it's
also
it's
sounds cool.
It's amazing and terrifying all in one. I recommend anybody that is would enjoy that type of thing to try it at least once just to see what it's like. We do it. We get out there at least one night every year, and sometimes we don't even shoot off that much, and we just watch everybody else's stuff. It can get a little scary, especially kids. The high school age kids that have less fear will do
Daredevils,
some
yeah.
things that are a little not so safe. But overall, really cool thing to experience at least once, especially if you enjoy fireworks. Definitely worth it.
Good stuff.
All right, Joe. Well, that will do it. We'll see next time. Next time we record a Cowboy Chronicles, Oklahoma State may or may not have a coach. We'll see. Probably not, but um, we'll see what happens a week from now. But I still think it'll probably be November 30th. That said, we'll have another podcast to talk about more stuff with the coaching search next week, as it probably winds down even closer to the deadline. So, put your score predictions in the comments on YouTube for the OSU UCF game. I'll be back at Stonecloud next week, and you can win a beer that I will enjoy on your behalf. Joe, thank you very much once again for sitting in for this episode of the Cowboy Chronicles, and thank you for watching.